I made this picture at a recent AR conference I've been to at New York University, and these are all the speakers there. Do you guys see something invisible on this picture? Something that they see and we don't see? Come again? Yes, they are using their body language to put something here to have them explain that this is contradicting, that maybe there's an idea that we should really go forward with. They're using their gestures to somehow visualize their ideas. Now, these are not very formed ideas, but they are certainly in front of me when I talk, and I kind of see them, and I wish you would see them too, because I think it would be so much more fun to talk that way. And this is an idea I would like to explore in the coming few minutes that I'm really passionate about and share with you why. So first of all, if I can see people with their ideas, I think it will help kids get more ice cream. Like, can I have this? It will be so much more convincing. But also, the truth is I love visualizations. I think they really help us understand things because they can explain relations. But the truth is, I also love looking at people sharing ideas because they engage, and I feel somehow that I can relate even to the visuals better if I see the person. Now, I have the privilege to work with Ted a lot, with Prezi. For example, we did this amazing, fantastic, super cool presentation for Bono for the main stage. And I was so happy. It's like so big, right? And Bono is very small, like Prezi. The truth is, by the time it gets to the internet as a video, 80% of the time they show the speaker. Ted does. And they rightfully do so because the human part of the story is the one that engages, and the visuals just augment it, extend it. So this is something I'm truly passionate about, and I like to talk about these 4 things. Why this passion happened, where it comes from. And okay, then you can think, okay, Adam maybe he has this crazy thing, but it will never happen. So is AR really something that will happen? Is it just a hype, or is it a real thing? If it is a real thing, is it good for us? Should we actually want it, or should we fear it? And if we want it, how we can make it happen in a good way? So the passion. So this, partly it's actually coming from this tool I'm using, and let me take a few minutes to explain why. So yes, Prezi, it's one of the nicer startups from Europe, really with 100 million users and all that. Now, and of course, we have people that are well-known using our tool, but the thing that I've been always most passionate about is seeing kids use Prezi in schools. Because they constructed their little ideas as little visual stories, and they were all unique and special and unique to them. And I always had that feeling that when I see this, I kind of see a visual version of what's in their head. And when they show it to me, I always had the feeling that we kind of take a walk together into their ideas. Somehow very kinetic, like my gestures. Now, I keep talking about space and walking, and you can say this Prezi is all this zooming thing. The truth is, if you would take this simple slide and you would pull it out in space for real, and you would put a camera over the eyes and you would move it around carefully, it would look very, very similar like a Prezi does. And this is really what my passion has been building this company in the last decade, is that we help people create spatial stories. If it was real 3D, you would have to learn all these words in English. I don't know them. Joe Pitt search way. Or just using and zooming and panning allows anybody to do this. So there is something to learn here, that if you find a simple enough technology, people will start to use it as a language. I actually got to Prezi in a very strange path. I was trying to augment the real reality. Now, most people, when they say augmented reality, they mean goggles. And I was like, oh, no, no, no. I want to augment architecture, spaces, the world around us, not through your goggles, but for real. So this primarily happened because when I fell in love with architecture, which I find is a really beautiful human art, this thing happened. Computers started to become a really big thing. This picture is of a demo scene. These are big computer screens, and these are groups of kids that rented this big hall and got together to share code and visuals. And when I looked at this picture back then, I felt like there's something really beautiful happening there between humans. It's a really social space, but the only thing architecture does is like, okay, the rain won't rain on you, but I don't do anything more. It's a bit sad. It feels like a lost opportunity. Or on this picture, this is 2005, when the Pope died, who was Polish back then, the people living in these buildings that are the ugliest building architecture can produce, right? They self-organized to create this most beautiful, amazing memorial by mixing pixel art with Catholicism. I just found it really powerful and beautiful that if you can augment and hack spaces, you can do so much more. So that was my passion, and I started small, gluing things on computer screens because I need to augment what's in there, bring it out, or building these solar-powered pixels that we placed in parks so people could walk inside these screens in the sunshine, and they rotated to show different colors automatically to play little games with you, or things like buying 10,000 small electronic devices and putting it on walls of bigger buildings to make them respond to you, really like an augmented space, but make it for real. Or making it very personal, like trying to see if I can mix my mirror image with a very complex 3D visualization of the brain. Does it become different? Does it become more personal? And yeah, it's actually really fun. This was, maybe nowadays you can do this on your phone, but back then this was very hard to do. And this was also at the Ludwig Museum. Maybe some of you have seen it. Anyways, but if you do this, you can have things like old people engaging with your technology, kids, etc. So somehow bringing technology out of that closed box of computers felt like a great thing to do. And the last one from here is taking reality around us in shape of a few hundred mirrors and controlling it with computers so I can construct new images from the ever-changing environment of this park in the UK. So I was really happily living, doing this, traveling around the world. These were very nice projects. But the truth is, we started doing Prezi, and somehow I fell in love with this notion that if I see other people building spaces, it's more fulfilling for me than if I do. So that started my passion. Let's make people express themselves in space. So I have this passion, and you might care or not care, depending on if you believe AR is a thing or not, because I want to make it happen, but I might not be able to. So augmented reality is this very simple idea that has been with us for long. This picture is from 1963 from Hugo Gensbach, an inventor, that I can mix my sensory experiences with virtual synthetic experiences that are not there. Right? I can blend something into my vision, etc. You probably heard of this idea. Virtual, augmented, it's probably the same depending on how you push the slider. Is it fully synthetic or is it half synthetic, etc. Now, if you look at this image, what do you see? How does it feel like? Do you want to walk like this? No? I think it looks scary and unnatural. Like if I imagine all of you sitting like this in front of me, maybe funny as well because it's an old technology. Now, my fellow humans in times of technological change, I have some bad news. We are already doing this, and there is nothing scary or unnatural about this, all of us. Augmenting our realities is just not happening to our vision. It's happening to our ears. The reality around us that we hear, we have been changing, augmenting, mixing for many, many years. And probably when it first came out, it was very strange to see people with headphones. Today, you don't even notice it. Don't forget this when I will say very strange things that feel alien, and because these feelings change very fast. But of course, augmented reality is about goggles, so let's go back to vision. Let's go to this blurry area here. And let's start with cinema. An estimated 50,000 cinemas around the world today. There are places where we gather together temporarily to augment part of our vision. We see things that are synthetic, that are not there. They don't come from sunlight. They feel real for a while, then we go home. I guess you see where I'm getting. Next stage here was television. Estimated today, 1.6 billion homes have televisions. Temporarily, you go to a device in your home. It's much, much, much more than cinema. Explosion is huge. You partly augment your vision with something that's not real, not there. It's synthetic. Of course, today, some of you right now, all of you, most of the time, in the bathroom, mobile phones, 5 billion. It's a huge, huge number. It's so bad that in Chongqing, China, they did this really cool thing that they changed this sidewalk. So there is a special lane for people walking like this. And they have to walk carefully. So they don't bump into each other. There's another lane where you can just freely walk around. Because it was a real problem. And we all do this. We are like staring at our palms. But there's nothing nice about staring at our palms, right? This is not what we want. We don't want to. That's bad. And we have about 7.7 billion pairs of eyeballs on this planet today. And the pattern I see here, and I want you to see, is this one. First, it was a special building. Then it was a special thing in our homes. Now it's a special thing in our palm. It's a phone. But it's not about the phone. It's not the phone that you want. I mean, I have to admit, I actually really don't like when somebody calls me on the phone. It feels intrusive nowadays because I could interact with so much more gentle ways. This thing is coming for our eyeballs. I see the pattern, especially since the most prevailing idea today, how to make AR reality, how to make it real that I can really mix it if I hold it here, but truly mix it, is to project light directly into your retina. Not a small screen, but a projection. Maybe it sounds scary. That's what the sun does. And I do think when I see this pattern, it will happen because once you don't have to work like this, you will not work like that. There's nothing nice about staring at your palm. There is one more sense that I'm really passionate about, and I think we are really performing very poorly in technology. It's the sense of intimacy, the sense of touch. I don't know about you, but when I get really emotional, like I hug somebody, I tend to close my eyes so I can focus on touch. It's a very powerful sense. It's very important for our human connection, and it's left behind massively today in the way we communicate with our colleagues, with our friends, because we do it through technology so much of the time. We did this small project when Hungary joined the European Union. All member states got a small star that we had to paint, and I got the Hungarian one, and instead of painting it with paprika or I don't know, what we did was we built a device in it that was trying to match with heating and cooling the exact temperature of Budapest. And we asked people, like, if you want to see what Hungary is like, close your eyes and touch this star. Then you can feel how it would be being in Budapest right now, using sense of touch to tell a story, augmenting the reality of that little star. So is AR coming? I think it has been coming for a long time. So yes, we will blend things into our vision, into our hearing, we have, into other senses that are synthetic and not there. So if this is true, should you worry? Before I get into should you worry, some people usually ask me that, well, I mean, these things just happen, no? You just told us they are coming for our eyeballs, like, good or bad, let's see. Actually, I think, and this is my most important learning, if I can pinpoint anything from today, it's just up to us. Nobody else is building technology, we are building it. Whatever the future will be, we are building it. So I think it's very important that as we do it, we think ahead and we make sure that it's something that we want, it's something good. It doesn't just accidentally happen. And you might say, okay, I don't know how to code and all of these things you show me, you need some computers. The truth is, when you use a service, you are voting for it. If you think Facebook is damaging communities and democracies, you can use it less. You have a vote. Same for mobile phones. So I think the main notion for me is that it's really important to talk about if technology is good or bad because we have the power to actually change its course. And I do know Facebook is responding already to the criticism it had on recent years of democracies. Now, I want to take you on a little journey now to talk about good or bad. It's a little experience together. So imagine we just met. Okay, that's me. Hi. It's not here. It's at a nice cafe outside. Imagine it's sunny, nice spring. And a few minutes into the conversation, I mention a book I just read. And it happens to be just your favorite book that you loved for years. Wow. And when I sip my coffee, I start to hum a music that was one of your favorite bands in high school. It's like, isn't this the most authentic human conversation I had since years? It wasn't. I was just checking your browsing history in my augmented reality headset. You can already buy this today in the United States. I was looking up what interests you, and I was basically spying on you, taking advantage. So AR is a dangerous thing, probably. Except, of course, now you say, oh, well, yeah, but you know, if I can do this, you can do this, and you won't trust me, and you will probably do the same, and all human conversations in a few years will become this strange, suspicious, what are you looking at? What are you reading? It's not something we want, I hope. And then again, I don't know if you guys remember, there was a device called Google Glass a few years ago. Does anybody know what it was called when it came out? Or sorry, how were the people called who wear it in the United States? There was a critical term. Google Glass, they were called glass holes. It's a rhyme to assholes, because it was so intrusive in public spaces. Like, are you filming me? What are you doing with this thing on your head? So there was social pressure not to do these things that are damaging our communities and cafes, right? So the thing is, though, I still remember another thing. When mobile phones came to Hungary, we had a name for them because it was socially unacceptable when we heard people making phone calls in public spaces. We used to call them bunko phone, which is like asshole phone. And now I guess all of we have mobile phones. I have, you have, okay? So I think as time goes by, we just get really happy about all these things that happen to us. Yeah, so I think there is something at stake here. The most prevailing vision for augmented reality for most companies today is this one that I just showed. It's called contextual information, which is the same that you see in the Terminator movies when the robot is walking, getting all this information about who to kill, spying on people and getting ideas, okay, I kill this one and that one. There is this really powerful little film from Keiichi Matsuda, an architect and designer from the UK, that depicts this sinister future. You see this person where all her public spaces are augmented, and everything is a fantastic shopping experience. And eventually, what we see that these sad, neglected spaces of suburbia are just dressed up cheaply with virtual colors and all that. So she's not in control. The other humans are not in control. It's just a very sad service. It can happen, I think. I mean, the dog is cute. You want to buy that yogurt. So I think my notion on this one is this, that if you look at me in the near future through your AR goggles, I actually want you to see what I would see myself. It's like my clothing. This is how I look. Please give me control. I want to show my ideas. That's how you should see me. You shouldn't just spy on me. But I keep mentioning ideas. You say, like, okay, but is it any good? Are ideas something that we should see? Are they not? Well, this is a Facebook comment thread with 174,000 comments. Of course, it's about politics, about Trump, but I have to admit, even in this country, you would have a very similar thread with rage and hate. The parties are not seeing as humans each other anymore, with all the comments are just like, this is such a horrible person, I hate you, I would kill you, even if it's their neighbor. So much rage and so much hate by seeing ideas. That's bad. So I have to admit, I spent 20 years working through the internet in groups with people. I've been using internet chat and comment threads and forums on IRC since 20 years, and I learned one thing. If there's a small conflict, you can never solve it in these channels. You have to pick up the phone and call or meet for person. Long email threads for parents and school evenings, I don't know, like you probably have seen some of these, just the rage just continues and grows. And I think it has a simple reason. There's an experiment, 2 people standing in front of each other. You can play it later. And one is pushing the other. Now the other has to push back with the exact same force. And the other, exact same force. Every single time, this escalates and people start to really hit each other until it doesn't really hurt. But the truth is, we always assume that we don't do as bad to the other as they feel, and vice versa. And on the comment threads, we always feel that they probably mean something meaner. But if we would see them, if they would be there, we would see that they actually don't mean it fully like that. They all have doubts as well. There's a lot of reasons why so much hate happens, I think, on online communities. It's a lot about sinister politics trying to make use of us. But part of the problem is the technology as well, I believe. So I think if you do include the human element, I think it actually can be very powerful. We would see each other's ideas. We could build more empathy and relate to each other. So how do I come about trying to make this happen? So what I learned from Prezi is that you have to build a language, and by this I mean a simple enough set of tools that people can express themselves with. For me, the first real experiment into this space was in 2015. We did a little augmented reality app, storytelling app called Nutshell. It's still there for the iPhone. We haven't updated it. It wasn't a commercial success, like a few 100,000 users, but people could build very easily, very cute little augmented stories using the spaces and the little things they have around them. And they are more powerful than just seeing a picture or just reading this text. Together, they start to make sense. Of course, being a presentation company, we also worked a lot trying to learn from how public speakers use this. This is a professor from Stanford, did an amazing TED Talk using these ideas with one of our prototypes, standing in his own visual ideas and explaining human behavior. But the most important for me is when I present people an opportunity that they can see themselves in an augmented mirror with their ideas, I'm trying to look at the reactions. And most of the time, actually, I see people smiling. It's fun. It's like, oh, this is nice. Wow, it makes you look a bit cool, but also, this is what I wanted to say. This is what I thought. And now if I'm on a big conference, there's a big screen behind me. Maybe it's a bit similar because those are my ideas. I'm standing here, but most of the time, we don't have this opportunity. So it can be something very personal and magical. So shall we augment our future? And these are my last notes, and then you can come to question and debate. First of all, my main takeaway, we have the means to build a future we want. So don't say, oh, it will just happen, I don't care. And I don't want a future with rage and distrust. I want empathy and connections. And I think we are risking a lot. Even today, we can see what's happening in online communities. At the same time, this is another important learning. All the problems I have shown are non-technological. Why don't we have these goggles? We need better batteries and faster CPUs. Will we have them? Yes. It's a hard problem, but it's a trivial problem. How we make a technology that doesn't destroy our communities? I think that's hard. So next time there is a debate about should we invest in sciences or humanities, please say, I will say, well, let's not forget, it's also about us humans. We have to understand what we want. It's not about the technology. So zooming back to my promise, I do think if we mix humans and ideas, it's a very delightful experience. I think this should replace a lot of long text, a lot of debates, because it's much more relatable. Yes, we need visuals, because you can quickly scroll through them and you quickly find your point, but they become so much more approachable that you will start to build a dialogue with these people, rather than just fall into groups online and start to hate each other. So I do want to build this future, and I welcome you here next to me to tell me why I shouldn't. Thank you.
But I believe that personal connections are a basic human need. And I was wondering if you were afraid that augmented reality would degrade the number and the quality of personal connections and personality in our society.
Yes, it is a challenge. I agree with you. The challenge is that it is much easier to have a real human, face-to-face, neighbor-to-neighbor discussion. However, I do believe that our challenges are global. We will not solve climate crisis by talking to each other in the neighborhood. So we do have to. Okay, so we do have to engage differently.
That's
yes,
the game.
There's this great idea put forward by Marshall McLuhan. He said that the medium is the message. And I'd like to ask you, if we were to use augmented reality, what would be the message that you would want to put forward to?
Wow, I love that. Thank you. I love McLuhan. Become one with your ideas.
Wow.
Hey.
Hi. How about the industrial use? I mean, the complex machineries and the construction lines, you can't see it all time, all parts.
You're right. Industrial use, absolutely. Looking at charge diagrams, seeing in parts of engine. Augmented reality is already doing that. You can buy those devices, but they won't have a mainstream societal impact. So this is why I'm not focusing on that.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you so much, Ádám. Everyone, another round of applause. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Fantastic. Thank you.